I before E except after C. Oh, hello. You found me, finally. You can take some of this fruit off my hands. Here, I'll send it through the tubes. Oh, but the tubes are clogged with cats and haters. I got more fruit than I know what to do with. Cherries, blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, strawberries that go moldy the day after you buy them. And there's only so much pie a man can eat. Okay, well that's not true, but you want some variety sometimes. I mean, vegan won't let me have any butter, but I need something to spread on my toast. I just hate canning. You gotta sterilize all the jars. You need enough fruit and pectin to make a nice big batch, and then you have to listen for the pops on all the lids, make sure they're sealed and everything. And then you have all this freaking jam. It's too much. You have to hand it out to your friends and family, and they act like they're happy to receive it, but you know they're never going to use it. It's just going to sit on a shelf in the basement until it explodes. Nobody wants that. If I could just make a small amount of jam and just keep it in the fridge until I used it up in 2 or 3 weeks. I feel like this is a thing, right? I saw it on the internet. Yeah, refrigerator jam. Oh, but the tubes are clogged. I can't get to the recipe. I think I can remember that. No, it was simple. We can do it. I can remember the recipe. We're going to do it tonight by the seat of our pants. We're making refrigerator jam.
You'll need fruit. Cherries, blackberries, raspberries, peaches, nectarines, strawberries. If you think it would make a good jam, go for it. Today I'm using blackberries because I love them. You'll need some kind of sweetener. I'm just using white granulated sugar, but you can also use turbinado sugar, brown sugar, honey, agave nectar, or, if you must, artificial sweeteners. Adding a little bit of lemon zest and juice will add tartness, complexity, and pectin, which is a thickening agent used in jam making. You'll need some kind of pot or pan to heat your fruit in. I'm just using a medium-sized saucepan here. Since we're not canning the jam today and we're only making a little bit of it, you don't actually have to use canning jars, but you still might like to because they're just nice little multi-purpose storage containers. You can also use any regular food-safe storage container though, or you can just put it in a mug and then put it right in your mouth. First, pick out and discard any really bad pieces of fruit, like anything with mold on it. Some of these blackberries are right on the edge. They're a little soft and I wouldn't eat them raw, but they'll be good for jam making. Just use good judgment. Give them a really good rinse, and then throw them in the pan. Now you can add a little bit of water at the beginning, or go ahead and squeeze in a couple tablespoons of lemon juice, but if you keep the heat low enough, you shouldn't need that. The berries or whatever fruit you're using will start to release their own juices, and that'll give them a nice cooking medium. These berries are also still wet from being rinsed, which helps a little bit. Now, since stoves and pans vary, I recommend starting on medium-low heat and adjusting up or down from there. Even on low heat, you'll get there eventually, but I wouldn't go any higher than medium. You want to break down the fruit and let the juices come out and reduce a little bit, but you don't ever want anything to stick to the pan, and you don't want to reduce the juices too much because you'll just have a sort of syrupy caramel glaze on the bottom of your pan and your jam is ruined. Now while these berries started to cook, I rinsed off another handful and threw that in, making about 1.5 cups, but to be completely honest, I didn't measure any of this. Remember to stir frequently, especially once the fruit starts to steam a lot and interfere with the autofocus. Once the fruit starts to cook, you might also mash it a little bit with the back of the spoon to help it along. It's at this point, when the juices really start to come out, that I added a couple teaspoons of sugar. I'm going to add more later, but I wanted to start with just a little bit so it didn't end up too cloying. I don't really have that much of a sweet tooth. Then I just gave everything a good stir and kept stirring and simmering over medium to medium-low heat. Cooking times will vary depending on your technique, your personal preference, and the size of your jam batch, pardon my French. This took me about 10 to 15 minutes on the stove. Yours might not even take that long, or it might take longer. Just remember to keep stirring and keep it at a low but steady simmer. Let the liquid level reduce, but not too far. If the juices get too low, you can add a little bit of fruit juice or water. And if you want to thicken it without cooking the heck out of it, you can always add a little bit of powdered pectin or a piece of rind from a lemon or other citrus fruit. They contain a lot of pectin, and you can always fish them out later when you're done. Don't forget the all-important step of tasting your jam. Be very careful when doing this because that pot has been sitting on the food make hot circle, and the food in that pot is going to be hot. My jam was not sweet enough, so I added a little bit more sugar. You can also, if you like, add a pinch of salt. If you add just a little bit of salt, it doesn't make the food taste salty, but it makes it easier for all the flavors to get to the party on your tongue. Now, I've mentioned a couple of times adding citrus rind or zest, which is just the colorful part of the rind. I'm doing this about midway through the cooking process. Earlier is better. If you do it early on, the zest has more time to release its pectin and flavors and everything. So earlier is better, but later is fine too. I'm using a zester, but you by no means have to use this tool. You can use a grater or a vegetable peeler, a paring knife, or you can just tear off a hunk of rind with your bare hands and throw that in. Ideally, you want to omit the pith, which is the white part of the rind, because it imparts some bitterness. But it's not going to add that much bitterness. It's not really a big deal, and sometimes a little bit of bitterness is fine, so don't sweat it too much. Also, being careful of any seeds that might fall out, I'm going to squeeze in one wedge of lemon juice because I like to tart it up a little. But you don't have to stop there. Jam isn't just one thing. You can add whatever you like to this. Spices like cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, allspice, vanilla. If something sounds good to you, experiment, give it a try. That's how they discovered jalapeno jelly. I have a jar of blueberry jalapeno jam in my fridge right now. I didn't make it, I bought it, but it is amazing on a grilled cheese sandwich, or, if you're a vegan, a grilled peanut butter sandwich. Now all that's left is to produce the desired consistency. This is perfectly edible right now, but I'm going to cook it for another couple minutes and give the berries a few more mashes with a spoon. I want to break them down a little bit more and make a smoother jam. I could also use a stick blender or a regular blender to smooth it out, but be very careful when blending hot things. Maybe let it cool down first. I'm not going to blend it today though. I'm also not going to strain out all those blackberry seeds. You can if you want to. I'm just going to deal with it. Now is the time to enjoy the jam by whatever method you normally enjoy jams, or by a new method by which you have not yet enjoyed a jam.
Jam's not for cats. Well, that was super easy. Way faster than canning a bunch of stuff, and now I have something to spread on my toast tomorrow morning for breakfast. Or put in my oatmeal, or put on ice cream, or maybe just put some jam on some pie. Yeah. I forget what I was saying. Tune in next time for information on something else. Stop clogging up the tubes.